I'm hopeful, regardless of the outcome. Boost the positive energy without one. Sorry about the jab, I'm on a holy field. I'm bearing fruit, but demons try to eat them like Yoshi meal. I piss them off the Batman like Falcone deals. Jungle full of predators, I know how Mowgli feels. So I got the fire, refuse to live in fear. I can spot suppliers, eating fresh drugs. Call me private label.
Oh yeah, welcome to episode 173 of the Permaculture Pimpcast, where PIMP stands for Permaculture is my passion. The only Pimpcast on planet Earth where we discuss permaculture, preparedness, and practical living. Going to be a good show, and I'm glad so many of you are coming into the house right now. If you would, hit that thumbs up on the way in. Let YouTube know that they should immediately start suppressing us, as always. Well, as always, this episode brought to you by Hickory Ridge Soap from TwoOldCrowsHomestead.com. Turn that simp into a pimp. Bam! Heaven's Harvest, y'all. 10% off with promo code PERMA, P-E-R-M-A. Remember, handle all your preparedness needs yourself, at least the things you can. And anything you can't, go check it out at Heaven's Harvest. And as always, if you would like to tip a pimp, go do it on the Fountain app. You can listen to all your podcasts over there, but make sure you start with the Pimpcast, of course. And you can drop a derivation of Bitcoin called SATs. SATs. So if you feel so inclined to drop a SAT on a PIMP, you know where to do it over on the Fountain app. All right. So jump right into the farm news as always. It's still that same, well, some people would call it drudgery, but I'm going to call it a workout. And that is basically walking with everything up the side of this mountain. As I said before, I don't want to go out there. I don't want to necessarily do it with mechanical means. I want to be able to go out here and get this stuff done by carrying up the side because number one, I'm getting a workout. Number two, I'm not damaging the soil. I mean, if you doubt me, go ahead and look at all the places where they harvest trees using a team of mules or, big old horses, Clydesdales or something like it. Look at the damage on that land using those means compared to a mechanical means. Well, the same doggone thing applies when you're doing what I'm doing right now. So, it's a party with a purpose. That's how we do things. All right. So we're basically concentrating on those areas where the animals are, obviously. Okay, so let me talk this out for those that don't know and for those that want better clarification. Here's what we're doing. Every single time, right now, the animals, and when I say animals, I mean sheep in particular, are grazing animals. They're in areas that are absolutely denuded of life. It's an area that's a silvopasture area that wants to be a silvopasture area. So we had to basically clear out some of the junk trees that we were able to do at the time. My son William did that mostly by himself. And you could check him out on YouTube at the Permaculture Consultant. So go check him out. But anyway, he went out there, cleared up these areas, but it's still bare dirt or just denuded soil. And we know this because we looked at all of it under a microscope. And you got a little bit of bacteria, no fungus, which is especially bad because in a food forest or old growth forest environment, okay, let me back it up. So in a pasture environment, you ideally want a 50-50 split between bacteria and fungus, not to mention all the other life. But when you get into a food forest area, you ought to be looking at somewhere around maybe a 10 to 100 to 1, But when you get into an old growth forest, which is what I'm dealing with here, you could be up to 1,000 to 1. And it ain't even there. It's not even 1 to 1. So that's exactly what we're doing. But I want to express to you this other method in which we employ whenever we work in a particular spot. So like I said, they're going to be there for 3 days. In that 3-day rotation within that space, look at it. If you're saying, man, I got all this stuff I need to get done, use those 3 days to not only get your animals fed while they're there, have them put down their fertility, which is obviously their excrement and their urine. And then in addition to that, if you got any trees that need cleared out or just scrub brush or could be multiflora rose, don't worry about any other area. Just work on that area. In fact, it's going to come out pretty soon. It's a short that I did for Patreon. And that's what I'm really talking about. So folks, if you think that you have this insurmountable project that just can't get done, remember, like I always say, you don't win this war in miles. It's won in inches. So think about doing that. So let's say there's logs that are in there that need to go. Well, that's your time to do it. Don't worry about another area except that one right there. Now, that's kind of been my policy forever and a day, but somewhere along the way, I kind of lost doing it, you know? And so I'm getting back into doing it. I mean, we've done it, but not really working on it to the extent we did today. So I was in there trying out this little tree stall that these folks sent me to try out. And I'm in here cutting this stuff up. I'm like, okay, well, I can knock out 3 things all at the same time. And that's permaculture, y'all. You stack your functions. So what else are we doing around here? Michelle just did another batch of microgreens, and I know typically people just put it in a straight up, medium, like let's say coconut core. And it can be done that way, and you still get a lot of vitality in those microgreens. But what if you were to do what we're doing, and that's basically scattering some of this ballin' compost that we got out there. We stick that on top and then put our seeds in it. Start it that way. So if the microgreens are fantastic without doing that in a sterile medium, what are they going to be like when we do it with our compost, which is what we've been doing? So some people will say, oh, what if you have this and that and this? Well, that's why we look at it under a microscope. This stuff is balling. It's doing exactly what it ought to do. So this is one of those things where we're, once again, stacking functions, taking that compost, using a majority of it for compost tea, but then we sift a small portion of it just to put on those microgreens, which I, adorn every single salad. I try to anyway, unless I'm just being plumb lazy and don't want to walk upstairs and get in there and get it. So anyway, that's something else. Okay, I picked up, folks, I want to point this out because a lot of folks, I actually got this idea from the homesteading pastor and his wife, I don't know, maybe a year, 2 years ago, where right now, folks, you can get, if you can get bare root trees, knock yourself out. The best time to do it was probably before now, but hey, you go to Tractor Supply and you see some of these trees that just because they don't have leaves on them, people ain't buying them. And just because we're not in the spring yet, people ain't buying them. You think you might get a deal there? Well, I got 2 cherry trees and I'm going to put them, because Michelle loves cherry trees, I'm going to put them down in the food forest, and I'm going to be talking about that too. Also got a blueberry at a really good deal. So check out those places. I mean, like Jack Spirko's talked about numerous times, man, he's got a lot of good deals out of a Walmart parking lot. So don't stick your nose up just because, these people they may not have the cat's meow on everything, but I got a feeling that like last year, good trees are going to be hard to find. So early spring, and well, everybody knows what's going on. It looks like spring's kicking. It's I'm in the mountains, y'all, and it's in the upper 60s right now. So it's pretty doggone nice out there. So we're enjoying the weather, but at the same time, some people are going to feel compelled. Okay, maybe I'll get a head start on the planting. Look, y'all, I think we're in for a rope-a-dope. If you don't know what that is, that's basically, Ollie and Foreman, where he kind of played like he was, just let Foreman punch himself out, and then he came in and knocked him out. Well, that's the same exact thing I suspect may be happening with the weather. Contrived or not, I'll leave that up to you to determine. You know my position on that. And I got to play nice because I'm live on YouTube right now. But if I were just strictly podcast, you might hear me say this a little bit differently. But the point being is that I think, I'm seeing trees bud out. That ain't wonderful, because I guarantee we're going to get another freeze or 2, probably in March. So if you're out there planting some of your stuff, be mindful that you might want to think about getting some row cover too, because I guarantee we're in for some more frost, and you want to be prepared. So like we always say on this program, stay alert, stay alive. All right, y'all, before we get into the good news section, I want to remind you, coming up this next weekend, March 8th and 9th, it's going to be around the corner in no time, Organic Grower School. In fact, we're going to have on Chris Peterson here in a little bit to tell you what you can expect there. Believe it or not, it's a pretty interesting lineup, and you might want to check it out. That's March 8th and 9th. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be presenting. And you're going to want to be there if you're anywhere near Mars Hill, North Carolina. And then later on, April 12th and 13th, Keeper of the Old Ways. That was a really fantastic festival. I'm going to have her on, I think Thursday this week. We're going to talk about that. I'm spending a few programs talking about all these different festivals, y'all, for a reason. Things are getting real. Things ain't getting no cheaper. And you're going to have to get out there and find out, okay, where's my community? How can I find these people? That's why I'm putting in so much. I didn't forget about the last 4 in my permaculture series. I'm going to get to that. Don't worry. Just maybe cogitate on the stuff I've released so far. And then later on in May, around, May 3rd through the 5th, and we're going to have a link for that one down below if you want to buy tickets for that. Mountain Readiness Festival, y'all. That is also a barn burner. I'm going to be there at that one. Some of the new friends I made are going to be there. Mike the Fit Farmer is going to be there, and a whole lot of others. And I think Bear Independent is also going to be there, and that's going to be in Harmony, North Carolina. All right. So ain't going to fool around, y'all. Get straight into the good news. All right. So check this one out. It may not seem like good news at first, but it's good news because it's being revealed, and it's something I was screaming from the mountaintops a while back. That is, pregnant women should minimize their EMF exposure at all costs. Unborn babies receive 20 times more electromagnetic concentration, and that's because they're in the amniotic fluid, I suppose. But this, and then there's also, good night, I think there's also an overlay with autism as well. So, folks, look, even if you can't eliminate it completely, I mean, obviously, there's going to be a number of women that are working in environments where they can't escape these things. But every single chance you can, like right now, I'm grounding myself. That ain't no accident, y'all. I ground myself as often as I can to basically, and remember, I'm a journeyman electrician with 25 years, IBEW trained. But I'm telling you, I am right now, as I speak, I'm discharging myself on the grounding mat. And I'm going to encourage all you pregnant women that are out there, try to find every mitigation strategy you possibly can. And Redemption Shield, which is one of my sponsors, which I failed to mention a moment ago, Redemption Shield has pretty much everything you're ever going to need to do that, whether it's shielding or whether it's grounding. RedemptionShield.com. Remember, promo code PERMA will get you 10% off. And they got all kinds of specials, and that's usually in addition to what they currently have. But man, I really had to point that out because there are so many women pregnant working in an office space, and you're being bombarded, whether through cell phone EMF, which I've tested, which I've done videos on, or also it may be, the Wi-Fi that's probably blasting all through that place. And then when you get home, the things I didn't suspect as being the biggest culprits were, meaning your TV. I had no idea where this massive EMF signal was coming from. And then Michelle says, unplug the TV. And I'm like, nah, it's turned off. But until you unplug it from the wall, that thing is still transmitting like nobody's business. So that thing stays unplugged unless you use it. So think about those things all through your house in areas where you may, and then especially y'all, this is the big one right here. Turn that stupid thing off at night. Turn it off at night. You want to make sure you're protecting yourself. You're bombarded with this stuff all day long. Give your brain the opportunity it needs to actually go into REM. And by the way, I want to thank everybody out there who's in the chat. If you're new coming in, hit that thumbs up. I know we're broadcasting at a different time, and a lot of people are probably at work or driving or whatever the case may be. But go ahead and hit the thumbs up if you haven't already. And I want to thank everybody for the kind words that are coming in. So yeah, that's article number 1. Number 2, and I wanted to point this one out because some people are out there growing it. Ginger inhibits colon cancer, says researchers. Okay. Well, you got that powdered ginger out there, but you know what? There are a ton of recipes and where you could be cooking with this stuff. You could be putting it in your food. In fact, why do you think they used to give ginger ale when I was a kid to all the kids that had a stomach ache or were the ones that were, upset? Because there was real ginger in there. If it is right now, I do not know. So, yeah, think about that as well. Now, this third one, I don't have an article necessarily for it, but I definitely want to point it out because I myself have been putting this to work. Now, I'm something of a biohacker, and I'm putting all this stuff together at the same time. And every time I find out something that I think works, I'm definitely going to let you know about it. Now, this one I got through Andrew Huberman, and he's got a podcast of his own, very popular, very, very, very helpful podcast. And it's called The Physiological Sigh. Now, those of you watching live, you're going to think I lost my mind, or if you're just tuning in at the wrong time, you're going to think I lost my mind. Believe me, I'll give you all the other reasons in other episodes why I have lost my mind, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but here's a physiological sigh, okay? Andrew Huberman, and if you need help with it, go check out the YouTube channel, Breathe with Sandy. You'll be glad you did, and it's one of his most recent ones. And what Andrew Huberman, if you want the fastest way to calm yourself, if you're feeling, I don't know, there's a whole lot of anxiety going on around right now, but if you feel yourself perplexed, just too much going on, you just need to take a second. If you can do both, grounding, taking off your shoes and touching the bare soil or on a grounding mat, that's one way to do it. Or if you don't have access to any of that, if you do the physiological psi, and I never tell you guys about things that I haven't done or that I'm not currently doing. In fact, I just did a round of it before I started podcasting because I'm going literally at 100 miles an hour on this farm. And I'm like, okay, I got 2 podcasts to do today. One where obviously I'm the one broadcasting, and the other, by the way, and folks, I encourage you to check it out. It's Homestead Shop Talk. And that's going to be at 7:00 tonight, Eastern time. And I'm going to be on that one as well. But in addition to that, in between all the things I'm doing, my brain can get a little bit of jumble. So I've talked before about how I do deep breathing, but this one I just started doing. It's called the physiological sigh, and I'll demonstrate it. You're going to basically breathe in quickly, but you're not going to take it all in one breath. I'll just demonstrate it. It's like this. Hopefully you can hear me. So what you're doing on your inhale, you're bringing it in, and when you're near the top of your inhale, where you can't put much more in your lungs, you stop for a split second, take another little gasp of breath, and then you let it out with about an 8-second count. So it may be a 4-second inhale and an 8-second exhale. Just doing that alone, it's another breathing modality that's really helpful. There's another one called box breathing where you breathe in for 4 seconds, much as you can, hold it for 4 seconds, exhale 4 seconds, and then, hold it 4 seconds. Then you repeat that cycle. Andrew Huberman, he and his lab have tested, like, what is the fastest way? They figured out that in 3 cycles of just doing 3 cycles of that made all the difference in the world, y'all. Unbelievable. So give it a shot. And like I said, go check out Breathe with Sandy, because he goes through a great deal. He actually walks you through that. And he's got that other breathing modality that I think is every bit as fantastic as well. All right, with that said, y'all, I am not going to mess around. I'm going to get into my main topic. And right now we got a guest on. His name is Chris Peterson, and he's a representative of Organic Grower School. And they're going to have a festival, or basically a conference, coming up real soon. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing good, thanks. Just joining you here with my 4-month-old. So you'll see that burp cloth on my shoulder. So I apologize in advance for his occasional outbursts.
Not at all, man. I get excited I love babies. In fact, a lot of what we do here with our disposable income is to help babies in a way that I can't really talk about right now. Otherwise, I'll get chipped off of YouTube. But anyway, we go. I mean, I love babies. I mean, you do whatever you got to do, man. I love them. So, what if you don't mind? What's your baby's name? Oh, there
he is. Yeah, he's decided he's going to eat during the podcast. This is Nathaniel.
Oh yeah, he's a cutie. I love babies, and blessings to him and to you and yours, my man. So welcome you and Nathaniel to the Pimpcast. And man, it's great to have you on here. So why don't you give us a little bit of background before we talk about OGS? Why don't you give us a little background of yourself and what brought you to this work?
Sure. So I actually am a pretty new resident to Western North Carolina. I've been working in agriculture and food systems development in Memphis, Tennessee for the past 10 years. So a lot of that was spent managing farms. I've been kind of all over, done dairy, I've done livestock, but kind of my main interest has been vegetables over the past couple years. Most recently, I was managing a farm called AOVS Urban Farm, which is a farm on a housing site for formerly homeless military veterans. And so we provided produce as well as job training opportunities for the folks there. So that's what I was doing before I joined OGS. Moved here in August and started with OGS in September, managing this conference.
Man, I'm just dumbstruck. I keep looking at Nathaniel over there. He is such a little cutie. And I'm sure everybody out there that's watching the live stream is actually going nuts over him too, because man, it's always a blessing. I got a little grandbaby about his age, strangely enough. So yeah, it just gives me joy to see it. So you made your bones in another spot and now you're here. So why don't you give everybody a little synopsis of what OGS is all about?
Yeah, so Organic Grower School started in the mid-90s, just over 30 years ago, and it started as just the conference. So it was a group of farmers who came together who wanted to share information about growing organically in the Southern Appalachians. And so the organization is probably best known for this annual spring conference, which brings together folks from all around the food system, kind of trying to represent the diversity of all the work going on in the region. all the different types of farming going on in the region and different scales of growing, whether you're a home gardener or a production farmer. We also offer services throughout the year to capture folks at different stages of their growing experience. So we've got kind of a homegrown dreams class for people who are interested in growing at home, farm beginnings, and journey person programs, depending on kind of where you are in your farming journey. But basically, we want to support growers and just sort of anyone interested in sustainable living and pursuing their goals.
Well, we got record numbers getting into this space right now. One of my heroes in the space, Joel Salatin, just wrote another book called The Homesteading Tsunami. So we got that very thing going on. The higher these prices get and the tougher things seem to be getting, and the world keeps going in a snarl, and people are responding thinking, okay, man, this food in the store ain't getting any cheaper. Things ain't getting any less crazy, and things are getting nuts and nuts and nuts. So, yeah, you guys, I've gone through this little phase right now. I usually do it every chance we get, where we started talking more and more about these festivals that are going on. And the primary reason being, there's so many of us that are in this space that feel isolated, that we're the outlier in maybe our neighborhoods or whatever. And what I find out, I mean, you tell me if it's different for you, but what I discovered in every single one of these festivals, that it's less, it seems, about the instruction and more about the community and being in the company of other people like it. What's your experience like?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I mean, one of the reasons I was interested in joining OGS in this role is, for me, coming from a farming background, is that, I always went to a conference every year just to get re-energized. Farming can be such an isolating profession to be in. It's like that, I think, all over the country. Because you live in an area which probably doesn't have a lot of people typically, and you're, a lot of times working by yourself or with just a few other people day in, day out. And so, yeah, I think the conferences are a great way to energize yourself and to meet people and to get that sense of community and get ready to go another season.
That's exactly why I promote this so much, is because it's not entirely those of us that live rurally or very rurally like I do. It's even within the neighborhoods. You may be the one person in your neighborhood that feels, okay, do I want to grow grass or do I want to grow food in this front yard? And it does create a certain degree of acrimony in some neighborhoods, especially if you find yourself, unfortunately, in an HOA where, they're going to come and tar and feather you. But all of you folks that are gardening, even at the smallest level, and by the way, y'all, even if you're in an apartment growing mushrooms in your closet, or you're taking a spare room in your house and growing microgreens, guess what? By definition, you are a farmer. So there's something here for all of you. Chris, let's kind of segue into what OGS, I mean, what is out there? So you got people in all walks of life that are going to listen. There's some listening to the podcast live right now on YouTube, but the overwhelming majority are going to definitely be hearing this in the podcast version of it. So what can they expect at OGS, and what's coming up?
Yeah, so the conference itself is divided into 13 different learning tracks, just kind of topic specific tracks. I'm not going to name them all off, but includes, permaculture, farming as production, farming as a business, living on the land for more just like sustainable living topics. And each of those tracks is divided into 4 presentations that repeat both Saturday and Sunday. So that's about 60 different classes. Most of them tend to be for beginners or intermediate growers, but we do have some more advanced stuff. We also have half-day courses that are more of a deep dive into a specific topic. And so we've got some really exciting ones coming up on that, like Jesse Frost, who does the No Till Market Garden podcast, is coming down to do a half day. John Martin Fortier is doing a half day.
That he alone is enough for the price of admission.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite confident in saying that there's probably not a conference anywhere else in the country where you can pay $15 to see JM do a half day. I mean, it's really an extraordinary opportunity. He's also doing a pre-conference on Friday, which is a little bit more in depth, a little bit more expensive. But yeah, we're super excited to have him. Super excited to have Jesse. There's tons of published authors from all around the ag space that are coming down. So yeah, just really exciting stuff.
And I'll be one of them. So I'm not going to be doing necessarily a basic class. I mean, mine, as far as covering the chicken tractor on steroids, is a pretty advanced. It's about as advanced as you're ever going to find with chicken processing. But that's really the beauty of this whole festival, Chris. What I loved right from the beginning when I got here is that no matter where you are in this journey, there's something for you. I mean, no matter whether you're just, okay, I don't, do I even want to do this lifestyle? Okay, there's classes for you. For those of you that are like, maybe you're a month or a year into it, I guarantee there is something there. That is one beauty. It's almost too much because every single year at OGS, it's like, man, there's more classes than you can possibly attend, but you also get the contact of these information of all these people. So if you do, you know, a lot of them are local. So I'm sure all of them, if you can't see one particular course, I'm sure there's a way to find them to be able to access that information. But I got to be honest with you. I don't know how you guys aren't charging a King's. Well, I got to ask, I mean, why are you not charging more? Because somebody like JM Fortier, I mean, that's a guy that would command thousands to do what he's doing right now and would get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you know, for us, keeping our conference affordable for participants is really important to us as an equity goal. We want this information to be available to everyone and to be able to meet the disparate financial abilities of the folks in our community. And so we work really, really hard through sponsorships and through working with other folks. You know, we have a number of speakers who graciously donate their stipend back to OGS that allow us to keep the cost of admission affordable. And it's absolutely, I mean, it's the most affordable conference of its type. I mean, hands down.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling, really, what y'all have going over there, and the depth. I mean, that you're willing to go on a lot of this stuff. Now, folks, I do also want to say that keep in mind. Remember, I always say that the mark of a thinker is the ability to hear anything without necessarily agreeing or disagreeing with it. So keep in mind, there may be some topics or whatever that are covered at OGS that maybe it's not your cup of tea. Well, my advice to you is don't attend that class. There's going to be things. If I had to just say, I'm just going to tell you outright. There's portions of this that may ascribe a little more to the left side of the tradition, and that's completely fine. You're there to learn how to grow food, not pick out your mutual assistance group. You know, that's so. Go there, absorb what's useful, and then go on. And you know what? It would also do you good. Because I know a lot of people, we live in a very segmented and polarized society. And what you find out when you go to conferences like this, that you know what? We all speak the language of food. We all speak this language. I don't care where you stand politically on this or that. At the end of the day, you're going to find out, and it would do you well to go in here and maybe see what people that don't think like you, see how they view the world, see how they do this stuff. And you don't have to adopt it, but you would probably walk out the better because of it. So anything to say regarding any of that, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that's always attracted me to this work and to sustainable ag in general is it is one of those spaces, a really rare space today that cuts across political differences, it cuts across religious and other types of differences that we have and brings people together about a common topic, right? So that work can be difficult, right? Because it does, like you said, provide opportunities for the occasional conflict. But what's really unique about it is that it also provides the opportunity for people who wouldn't normally see eye to eye to find some common ground. And so we work really hard with our speakers to try to cultivate that type of space where people can work together across their differences.
In all honesty, in the last 5 years, I haven't seen even the slightest conflict. I mean, if anything, I see people, there's some that are say, okay, this is my cup of tea, but I've never seen any acrimony in any sort of way at this conference. So I think it does well in that you have a wide variety of so many different topics, and you're bringing across people in all spectrums, and that alone should be, I think, is commendable. So so this is essentially the first day. Walk me through this. Is it like your half day classes Friday, or walk me through this? How does that work?
So Friday is our pre-conference. And so we have 3 full day classes. JM is doing a class at Warren Wilson College all day. We've got an herbalism class at Red Moon Herbs. that's all day. And then we have a beekeeping class that's taking place in Candler all day. And so those are all available kind of at an additional cost to add on to the conferences Friday pre-conference. Saturday and Sunday is both our half days and our 90-minute sessions. So those happen at the same time. So sorry, babies, not having it.
It's all right, man. Everybody's loving the baby. I mean, and those in the, every time I see the baby, I'm like, okay, yeah, love little.
Yeah. But yeah, so Saturday and Sunday, the classes by and large repeat both days to give people a better chance to see what they want to see. So if you have something that conflicts, you can go see it the second day. And the 90-minute classes and the half days are happening at the same time. And so if you buy a ticket for a half day and the full conference, you can go see, your half day in the morning or in the afternoon, and then visit the other sessions during the rest of the week. And that's really the benefit of having buying the weekend pass, I think, is that you can fit in those half days, one of the days, and then go to your regular 90-minute sessions the rest of the time.
Okay. Also, a lot of these festivals, I'll be honest with you, Chris, a lot of the thing that everybody seems to complain about is that there's nothing to eat. Now you're going to be in Mars Hill, North Carolina. Of course, that's where I live. And by the way, for anybody out there thinking, oh, we're going to stop by Billy's Jungle Palace of Love, can't do it, y'all. We got security concerns. So, it'll be great to see you there, but I can't take you home with me. Okay. So are there going to be opportunities to obviously buy things in terms of books, and there were people selling trees and all, you name it out there, but is there going to be food? Because that's one of the biggest complaints at these festivals.
Yeah, food is always a tricky one at these, and it's a huge undertaking. So for lunchtime for the main conference, we'll have 2 food trucks that are kind of prepping stuff ahead of time so that it'll be easy to grab and go. And then there's also the benefit of being at MHU is we're right downtown, and so you can very easily walk to other restaurants if you don't want to visit those 2 food trucks. And then we'll also have at our exhibition hall, we have a number of folks doing coffee, pastries, that kind of thing to kind of keep you going throughout the day.
Yeah, folks. And you're also like a stone's throw from other towns around here, whether it's you got Burnsville down the road, you got Nashville, 20, 25 minutes away. You also have, good night. You have Marshall, that's not far down the road. There's a lot of little places that are many places around here that wouldn't take you long to get to. Man, sounds like you got your hands full, nephew.
Yeah, he's getting into grumpy stages, I think. But
yeah, well, we'll go ahead and put the brakes on it here in a minute. But is there anything else you'd like the people out there to know concerning the Organic Grower School Conference? It's coming up March 8th and 9th.
Yeah, March 8th and 9th. There's also, in addition to the main conference, we've got some special stuff planned. So we're going to do kind of a meet and greet hangout in Weaverville at Leveler Brewing there on Saturday evening. And there's some special stuff happening during lunch. So on Saturday, Jesse Frost is going to do a live recording of the No Till Market Garden podcast. And then on Sunday, we have one of our presenters leading yoga and meditation thing. So trying to fill it out with all of the experiences that we can fit into the weekend.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on, my man. And anybody that wants to check it out, we're going to have a link down below. And there's no promo code or anything like that. Like I said, believe me, it's already quite affordable. Thank you so much, Chris.
Thanks for having me, Billy.
All righty. All right, folks, there you have it. There was Chris Peterson from Organic Grower School. Like I said, I'm going to be there. And in all honesty, this isn't the typical homestead crowd that I'm part of, but I always feel in some way or another, every single time I go, I meet somebody that a lot of times there's people coming up to me. They may recognize me from YouTube or something like that, but I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of, it's not even that, man. It's meeting all the different people at this thing. And in all honesty, a lot of these folks do not necessarily, in just about a lot of ways, overlay with where my point of view lies. I'll just be honest with you. But I feel edified because this person may be 180 degrees different from where I stand on I don't know how many things. But I might learn 2, maybe 3 things from this person that is actually quite helpful. In fact, if I were to make a list of all the people I've learned incredible things from, that I didn't agree with in just pretty much anything except for farming, it would blow your mind. It really would. So if anybody out there is going to go to it, let me know. I didn't think about doing a meetup or anything like that. In retrospect, I probably should have considered something like that. But it sounds like they're going to be doing one out there. I might go check it out. We'll see how that goes. I'm not going to be down for the yoga or any of that stuff, but it'll be cool to go out there and kind of say hi to everybody and get to know some new people and meet some of the old ones. I kind of really want to meet JM and maybe even interview him, because the guy, look, folks, if you want to know anything about market gardening, he is one of the best on the planet, and he's going to be here. So I should have asked whether or not that's virtual, but I imagine if he's going to be over there at the college, he's going to be in person. So go check that out. Also, y'all, this episode is always brought to you by EMP Shield. Your number one threat out there is lightning, and they got you covered on the hizzle. That's a fancy hood way of saying the house. They got you squared away over there. If you want an EMP shield for the house, one for your car, and believe me, they're not that difficult to install. Go check out empshield.com. Use promo code PERMA. That'll knock off $50. So get yourself squared away, especially in these crazy, turbulent, unbelievable times right now. All right, so before we go on any further, I want to go to my man, Eric Sider.
Hey, Eric Sider here with your Pimpcast tip of the day. Today's tip: don't make money by destroying wealth. Society is designed to reward short-term thinking. We are chasing instant gratification. I think we are partly wired this way in a biological sense. We want to survive and pass on our genes. All of nature operates this way. Humans are different in that we have the ability to choose to go out of order. Plants and animals don't. A beaver can only ever act like a beaver. The more disconnected we are from source, the more we revert to short-term thinking. Our economy is designed to make money by destroying wealth. We must maximize profits with nonstop growth. The shareholders demand a return. Clearing a forest to grow a crop, mining for minerals, but polluting a river. These are all examples of making money by destroying wealth. Maybe we need to put a price tag on the priceless, or we simply need to understand the true value of natural wealth, the total value to the planet rather than the immediate benefit to our bank account. The political system encourages this short-term thinking. You can't solve generational problems in 4-year cycles. Whatever one party does, the other party undoes. One of my favorite quotes from Bill Mollison sums this up best. So what's the point of a fiscal economy? The point is that it's really an invention that feeds upon distrust for the benefit of stupidity. And if you don't tell me that greed is not stupidity, you're not thinking. Because in any area where you have a finite resource, and here we are, all sitting in a finite resource, it doesn't make sense to be greedy. It makes sense to increase the procreative resource so that greed becomes obsolete. That's what makes sense. That's what's intelligent. Stupidity is to grab what you can. Intelligence is to grow so much there is no need to grab anything. That is intelligence. Stupidity is greed. On a broad enough scale, it becomes evil. If you ever wondered what evil is, it is stupidity on a large scale. You can find me on YouTube and Instagram at Eric Sider. And if you're in need of permaculture shirts or remote permaculture consultation and design, head over to ericsider.com.
That's my dog right there, y'all. Good night, man. He put his foot in that one, y'all. And it's actually echoing exactly what I'm trying to point out here. These people that are going to be at a conference like this are almost certainly not, for the most part, going to be the people that you're going to see at a conference like, let's say, Homesteaders of America. And it does you good to be, because they are going to focus more, believe it or not, on the things that Eric just talked about there. We go out there and clear cut. There's a difference. Clear cutting of the price of everything and the value of nothing. They focus a little bit more on that. And it does you good to go out here and bump elbows with some of these people, maybe to a certain point, and then to a certain point, maybe you jump off. So, man, there's so much there. Good night, man. I could do it. I need to have Eric do my show prep. I need to pay him for that because he's knocking it out. Let me cover some of the comments here in the live chat here. I'm going to kind of scroll up and hopefully not bump the feed off. Billy, thank you for your spiritual strength and discipleship, and welcome to FE. Okay, I'll be talking about that later in the week on the Firmamental podcast. Anybody go over there, check them out. I don't know when that may drop, but I know I'm going to be doing an interview with those guys on, I think, Thursday evening. So it'll probably be not long thereafter. These guys don't typically sit on an episode long. So Yeah. I guess Isle of View Homestead knows more about it than actually I didn't. Maybe I kind of, anyway, I'll leave that one right there. Edible flowers, asparagus, strawberries, berry bushes, green country agroforestry. They all get past the HOA Nazis. Oh my goodness. Yeah. You know what? That is gold right there. Green country agroforestry. Absolutely. Good night. You could even throw kiwis in there. So that's one way to get around all of these people in the HOAs. If you find yourself there, and let's say you woke up sensing like, man, I really want to grow food. Hey, here's another one. My son William came up with this one, and I really, if somebody ever does this, please tell me that you did it. You're in an HOA, okay? They allow dogs. Typically, I don't know of an HOA that doesn't. Now, they allow dogs, and anybody can do and be and act and behave any way they want these days. Well, maybe you go out there and have chickens. And when an HOA comes and knocks on your door saying, hey, we got to talk about these chickens, you know you're not allowed here, say, look, all of these chickens here identify as dogs. See what happens there. I want somebody out there to actually do this. And man, he's talking about sweet potatoes trained as an ornamental ground cover. Man, that is absolute gold right there, Green Country. Somebody else came up with another one too, where they were using, sorry, I'm not going to be able to give you attribution. You wrote to me about it, and me and William talked about it a long time ago. It was a beautiful idea where they were going to use climbing yams. Stefan Subkoviak does basically a lot of that on his nitrogen fixing trees, but I don't, in the right circumstances, I suppose you absolutely could do it on your regular productive trees as well. I can watch a dozen different gardeners with a dozen different styles and come away with 24 new ideas to start for myself. That comes from Green Country Agroforestry. Man, bam, knocking it out of the park right there, bro. You need to be a guest on this show. And then we hear What a Sweet Baby. Yeah, I love y'all for a whole bunch of reasons. If I were not live right now, I would tell you all the reasons why. When I see a baby, to quote a doctor that I respect, when I see a baby, I suck it in, I soak it in, y'all, and I love it. And not just because I have a grandbaby about the same age, but when I see it, first of all, I've just always had this affinity. I love kids that behave. Yeah, let me qualify that one. Kids that are respectful, kids that, yeah, I love kids, and even the ones that don't, elevate that pimp hand and smack them. No, I'm just kidding. I don't do that sort of thing. But the point being, man, when I see these kids, these babies, man, I really take it all in, because I know right now a lot of people are they're being rendered unable to have kids. And I'm going to leave it right there. If somebody wants to put it in the chat what I'm talking about, you know what time it is. Holler if you hear me. Okay, let's see here. Is this going to be held online? Amanda's asking. I don't believe so. It might be. So you'll have to go to Organic Grower School 2024, go find out. I really don't know. I don't think they do, because, man, I think they record everything. I know that we did my presentation last year and we put it online, but I don't recall anybody else recording there. So I don't know that there's necessarily a main stage. I don't recall there ever being one. It's basically at Mars Hill University, and they basically take over the college at that time and use all the classrooms, and it has all the teaching aids. You have overhead projectors and well, I don't know if they call them that these days, but anyway, I'll be working on a computer. Hopefully that sucker works this time. If not, I'll be on my bicycle, doing it all the way around. Angela says, Andrew Huberman also states the same method is good for hiccups. Good night. I'll tell you another little cool thing for hiccups. My dad taught me this when I was little. Believe it or not, this works. If you got the hiccups, go drink a shot glass full of pickle juice. Gone. Yeah, nobody wants to drink a shot glass of pickle juice, but I'm telling you what, it'll get it gone in a minute. Never thought about doing that. I haven't had the hiccups in ages, so I'll definitely have to check that one out. Yam sound like David Goodman, Billy. Yeah. Yeah, that's something he would come up with, definitely. I could come and tell you how much fun I had reading Scrap Setting. Green Country also said that. Someone sent me a copy. Oh, thank you so much. Kind of give a little bit more of my background there. And it was a way to wet the beak of all the people that are getting into this space. Like Joel says, we have a homesteading tsunami, and so many people are trying to find. I mean, my heart goes out to all the people that are out there, and there's so many people giving great advice, but there's also this detachment of people that do really good YouTube videos, but they aren't in it for the right reasons, and they're not necessarily teaching it the right way. But there are some really awesome people out there doing a lot of really good work. And of course, you also have that detachment of people that used to do good homestead work. And now, because the algorithms favor you, if you go into the fear-mongering territory on YouTube, then all of a sudden you got that, you get that as well. So, people basically sold their souls for the almighty thumbs up, let's call it that, or the person getting on board. But are they getting on for the right reasons? I'll leave that up to you to decide. All right, y'all, this is going to be a relatively short one here today. I'm about to fire up some weed eaters and go out here and go Old Testament on some Chinese silvergrass that's going on out there right now. Thank you so much for checking out this impromptu. My man had very limited time frame to get in here, so I wanted to get him in. And I know it's not at the time where most people are going to be listening or watching, but I know everybody's going to check it out on the Pimpcast. Y'all, I want to thank you so much for your support. Until next time, stay alert, stay alive.
Just a carbon copy, true spitting that manicotti. Yeah, I'm talking saucy. All they wanna build is a prison world full of pet Tamagotchis. Living kamikaze, got me out of body like I'm Goku SS3. They wanna push me to the center like a subway, wanna spin up at the center of the nexus. Me.